Hello, welcome to On Purpose Astrology. I'm Mandy Lockley, and this video I will be discussing the new moon in Scorpio on November the 14th, and Mercury quite newly in Sagittarius, Venus quite newly in Libra, and those two signs are in a sextile for this new moon. So we'll be talking about how that might be helpful. So let's have a look at the chart first of all. So we can see there towards the top left of the chart in house 11, we have the new moon in Scorpio, which is conjunct Mars in Scorpio. The new moon, as we know, is the dark of the moon. Things are happening beneath the surface. We can't see necessarily what's happening during the new moon symbolically, but the new moon in the sky, of course, we don't see the moon. It is the dark of the moon, as I always say. So it's intense. Generally speaking, it can feel intense in a different way to the full moon when there's full light and you can see the intensity. There's that kind of almost that instinctive, intuitive feeling of intensity with a new moon, particularly in the water signs. And the sign of Scorpio is arguably the more intense of the water signs, and its feelings run deep. I mean, often the feelings of Scorpio run so deep that they're inscrutable to others, maybe even to Scorpio itself. So these are the kind of energies, the intense energies that we are dealing with. There's emotional power with Scorpio. So emotional power keys into this new moon, especially as Mars, the warrior planet, the planet of action, is there with the new moon. So what does Scorpio sort of bring? Well, there's a fear of losing control. Scorpio likes to control its emotions. So maybe that's a theme for some of us. How do we control our emotions? What emotions are coming up that we don't really know where they're coming from? Can we go deep to find out what's the source of those emotions? It's a difficult time in the world, and it's a difficult time for many people personally. So we'll be having a lot of emotions coming up. We think of Scorpio as depth psychology, the unconscious. As I said, it's the deep water sign. So perhaps this is another thing to think about. What's coming up in your unconscious that you don't realize, but manifesting in the, your feelings and the way you speak and the way you act and the way things are playing out in your life. Scorpio is also about our fixations, our obsessions. As I said, passions are running deep. Even if we don't realize, we might be actually surprised and shocked by how deep our feelings are and how they manifest. And I say that generally, but I also say that because Mars is there, and you can see, if you follow the line down to house 5, you can see that this new moon is opposite to Uranus. So we're going to be surprised at how our feelings come up and how they're expressed, not just our own feelings, but the feelings of others in relationships, our relationship with ourselves, of course, but with others, and also our relationship to the world around us. Scorpio is a really deep, penetrating energy, really can penetrate to the depths to really get to the nub of whatever's going on. And this is one of the big strengths of the sign of Scorpio. And we've got 3 powerful personal planets there for this new moon. Always, obviously, the new moon is the sun and the moon, but as I said, Mars is there as well. Scorpio tends to hide its vulnerabilities. So where are you vulnerable? And what are the defense mechanisms that you are employing? And are those defense mechanisms working for you? They're keeping you safe because that is the idea, but where are they potentially holding you back? As I say, it's quite a psychological feeling. It's very feeling, and it's kind of places that we might not necessarily want to go to in our psyche, but often with Scorpio, and it's very strong, particularly if this is really resonating with your chart, is we may be forced to go there, and we can either ignore it, or we can kind of let it all out, or we can find the middle ground of deep understanding, which is one of the benefits of Scorpio. Strong desires. Mars, of course, is desires. What are the strong desires? coming up for you, and where are they coming from, and how are they expressing themselves? So again, because Mars is there, all these passions, these feelings, this intensity, this power, it needs a channel. So try and think of a channel for your energy. Mars can also be anger as well as desires. Where are you channeling it? We often talk about getting physical activity is a good way to sort of burn off that extra energy. And there will be that extra energy, that restlessness that comes with the Uranus opposite this new moon and this Mars. So Scorpio kind of suits the dark of the moon, really, because, you know, it's about the things that are hidden. And as I've already alluded to, they might be coming up as feelings or words that come out of your mouth or actions or desires. You don't really know where they're coming from during this moon phase, because obviously the new moon is the beginning of a new moon phase. So during this new moon phase, you will become more aware, perhaps, because as the moon grows in light, things will come to light and you might have some more idea about where all these feelings are coming from. Now, as I've already mentioned, it's opposite Uranus. Shock and trauma. I mean, that's a theme really in world events at the moment, shock and trauma. Perhaps we'll realize really exactly how that is playing out for us personally, but collective trauma. Uranus is an outer planet and they always have something to say, not just about the personal, but the collective as well. Where's our collective trauma and how are we expressing that? Uranus also speaks of rebelliousness and freedom. It likes excitement. And it also brings changes, sometimes surprising and shocking changes, unusual feelings. Maybe feelings come up for you that you're not used to, sort of feeling certain things. Anger and emotions can come up, as I've already said, because of this Uranus. Uranus is like a little spark of electricity. It gives a little electric shock and oh, gets things going, you know. Having the courage of your convictions. Also, that plays into this new moon. I'm talking really again about that Mars there. Mars in Scorpio, having the courage, Mars, of your convictions. And perhaps even feeling misunderstood, feeling a bit shaken up. So it's an intense moon. So really look after yourself if you've got the chance to really be kind to yourself, to take a little bit of a break, just kind of rest, to sort of just sit with how you're feeling. We do have Neptune, you can see there in house 3, Neptune, also in a water sign of Pisces, is in a trine to this new moon. So that can bring confusion or lack of clarity, the urge for escapism, idealism, fantasies. You know, it can play into these fixations. I talked about Scorpio being about fixations on some level. It's also about kindness, compassion, empathy for your own feelings, as I say, being kind to yourself, also for the feelings of others. So you can kind of plug a positive into that if you can use Neptune positively. It's also good for spiritual practice, for creativity, art, music, dance, all that kind of thing. So we can see on this chart, if you look in house 9, we have Venus has gone into Libra. Not that long ago, it's only at 5 degrees of Libra in this new moon chart. So Venus in Libra. Well, Libra is at home with Venus. You know, there's a rulership there. It's a very comfortable placement for Venus, for it to be in Libra. So we're talking about, on the social level, sociability, affability, charm. It also needs appreciation. So perhaps you're thinking in your life, in your world at the moment, where am I appreciated? Do I feel appreciated? About balance, fairness, harmony, the harmony of opposites. Avoiding the difficult and the unpleasant. That's another thing. Venus in Libra likes everything to be beautiful and glamorous, for example, and nice and pleasing. So it can kind of not want to see what's going on in the service that might be the shadow of things, and this new moon in Scorpio might, for that reason, for some people, represent the dark sort of things. Secrets is another sort of thing for this Scorpio new moon. Scorpio can be very protective and secretive, and in the dark of the moon, probably more so. And as I've already talked about, that intensity with Uranus there plugging into it in opposition, after the new moon, might secrets are revealed, things you didn't realize. Go further into protection or idealism or sort of escapism, as I said, with that Neptune. But to go back to Venus in Libra, quality, sharing is caring. Libra, Venus, it's about sharing, it's about other and self, it's about relationship. We use that often, don't we, with children? We say sharing is caring, to teach children, or to imply that children should share with others and not be selfish and just look after number one. Of course, that's often necessary for children, but sharing is caring is really teaching children about kindness to others. So we could probably use a little bit of that in our adult lives, because we sometimes forget that. Equality, balance, balanced views. I think the world needs us as individuals and collectively at the moment to have balanced views. There's a lot of opposing views and opposing factions at the moment whenever you put the news on. So balanced views, very good for Venus in Libra. It's good for negotiation, compromise, and diplomacy. Internationalism, I go there really with internationalism when I'm into Mercury in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is internationalism. That's one of the things it represents, internationalism and the broader picture, the bigger picture, the worldview type of thing, as well as the personal, of course. It's the personal and the political. They go hand in hand. They kind of reflect each other in astrology, of course, and in life. So Mercury, as we know, is the planet of communication, and it's in the sign of Sagittarius. It's in a sextile for this new moon, which is a helpful aspect, a sextile with Venus. So Venus, Mercury sextile, it's an opportunity out there for talks. Mercury, of course, air sign Libra, talks, as I said, negotiation, compromise, diplomacy, international talks on the world stage, for example. So there's an opportunity there. But what is Mercury in Sagittarius? Now, Mercury Sagittarius, some themes and ideas for Mercury in Sagittarius. It's in the sign of Mercury's detriment. Sagittarius is Mercury's detriment, which means that it's not as comfortable. But when a planet's in its detriment, it finds a way. It tends to find a way. There's a kind of working through. Sagittarius is idealistic. It's optimistic. And even if optimism isn't merited, we talked about we need fair, balanced views, can be dogmatic. Mercury Sagittarius can be, I'm right and you're wrong. So again, we can use the opportunity of that sextile with Venus in Libra to have a fair and balanced view, given to exaggeration, potentially. I often think there's a kind of Cassandra complex with Mercury in Sagittarius. Cassandra, of course, well, in the myth, she was cursed with the gift of prophecy. So she knew exactly everything that was going to happen, but no one believed her. I'm not saying Mercury in Sagittarius, that if you have Mercury in Sagittarius, and I have that, of course, I'm not saying that they're always right and no one believes them, but there can be that dogmatic sort of approach where they think they are right and they can't believe everyone doesn't believe that they're right. So that's something to be aware of during this time. So again, we can bring in that really strong Venus in Libra to give that balance. So overgeneralizing, exaggerating, ignoring the finer details, these are some other sort of things to watch out for with Mercury in Sagittarius. But where Mercury in Sagittarius can really work well is if it can be direct and honest, direct and honest. But I think again that Venus in Libra helps us to be direct and honest with more diplomacy, because foot in mouth disease type of thing can be another thing. Putting your foot in it, more like, I think that's a better way to express it. Putting your foot in it with Mercury in Sagittarius, because oh, that's so honest, and you just go put your foot in it, but it can be outspoken. So using that kind of um diplomacy, being careful with your words. So being honest and direct with it, and of course, very broad minded. And that goes back to what I said about us needing to have balanced views to see the bigger picture. That's the gift, I think, of Mercury in Sagittarius, and especially with this sextile here. So I hope it is a good new moon period for you. I, as always, wish you all the best. And thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already and you would like to. And thank you for all my current subscribers. I am very, very grateful and enjoy making these videos for you. Thank you so much. Bye for now.